You two have been playing for the last 10 years or so,
Yep.
12 maybe?
10.
10?
It was, in fact, it's our 10th anniversary on 14th of February.
All right. How do you think your work evolved along all these years? I mean, the way you work together, the gigs you're performing now?
Well,
Is it still the same, just like
No,
for
it's
the first
not.
gig in...
It's not the same. I mean, it always changes, and with every record it changes, and with every live show it changes. I mean, you're always kind of trying to push yourself, so, and that aim to push yourself every single time, it definitely moves on, you know. It started out as simple as it could ever start out, with 1 amp, maybe 2 amps, and 2 of us. And it's changed to a stage full of amps, occasional drummers, singers. The stages have gotten a hell of a lot bigger than they were when we started. And the show's got more sort of complex, you know. It's still really simple. The elements of it are really simple.
Basic.
But yeah, of course it's changed. It's always changing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ways, you know, over 10 years, we've got hundreds and hundreds of songs, and we've never been a band to sort of just work around one style of song, you know. I've always wanted to push it to be lots of, you know, I've always felt like the Kills is defined by the way we play songs, and we can almost play any kind of song, and I always wanted it to be like that, really diverse. So over 10 years, there's so many different songs that when we first started playing, our set list was we could only play like for half an hour, and it was this burst of energy for half an hour, and it was kind of in one vein, and it happened to be a vein, like a mainline vein that I loved to tap into, but now we play for an hour and a half nearly, so it's almost a microcosm of the journey in the set now, you know. It's a lot longer and it takes you to different places, and it's a lot more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You must have heard this question, I guess, thousands of times, especially here in France, you know, the reference to what she called, you know, the French girl.
Florence Ray.
Yeah, Florence. You must have heard about her lots of times, especially here.
Yeah.
Is it still a reference for you? And do you think that at the end of the day, your part of this long story started with Debord and the situationism, and then the punk movement in late 70s and nihilism and so on? Do you think you've got this kind of inheritance of this story of, let's say, punk?
I hope. That's how I feel. I mean, I think for me, the story didn't start with Guy Debord. It started with Dada, really. You know? It started at the beginning of the 20th century when you know, art was on the front page of the newspaper, and actually the Dada movement threatened to obliterate and eclipse the First World War. You know, that's the power that I love about art and music, that it can be absolutely crazy, that people can be so much more threatened by some idiotic thing that some upstart has done artistically. They can be so much more threatened about their society than an entire world war, you know. And that's where the sort of punk attitude started, really, for me, in terms of, that's when, you know, the art was readily available and literature is readily available. That's the sort of, you can see the documentation of it, and I feel really affiliated to that. That's what I think.
So it's still a source of inspiration.
That's my great grandfather is Dada, you know, and yeah, all the situationists and Guy Debord and Paris '68. That's a massive part of it. That's you know, just aesthetically beautiful as well as politically beautiful, and I hope that we're part of that lineage. Definitely feel like it. Mm-hmm. If it's not my real father, it's my adopted one.
Before coming, I was thinking about this. I guess you know this book called "Please Kill Me."
Yeah.
The great anthology of the punk movement in America and then in England. And I was thinking, because the book is really US centered, because for the author, all began with people just like Thunder and the Ramones and in New York and so on, and then they came to London, and then they met Undertones and Pistols and the Clash and so on. You're kind of living proof that there's still a bridge between America and Europe as far as music is concerned. Is it something you feel, or?
I mean, I think there always has been. I think there still is, and definitely more than us, because I think people in England appreciate what's going on in America and vice versa. You know, everyone's watching what each other are doing and taking from it and learning from it. I don't think that's ever going to stop, especially now when you can find out what anyone's doing anywhere at any time that you feel like it. You know, it's kind of never been so much of like a united, I suppose, because of the media, you know, and the internet and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I tend
Maybe
to.
it's a silly question.
No, it's not.
No,
I
it's
tend.
not.
I think it's the sort of thing that I don't feel it day to day, but if in retrospect, if I analyse it, then there's definitely there's something in it, you know, in upholding this kind of transatlantic aesthetic. I don't think it happens that much anymore because America tends to obliterate and eclipse everything. So I think that musically, you know, the influence of American music is tended to make British bands sound American. You know, if they're interested in American music, then it's generally the sound of rock music now is American, really.
The force of the empire.
Yeah, well, I feel like I hope that we're not doing that. You know, I feel like there is a real sort of underlying Englishness about it as well. I think it's quite a good combination. I'm biased.
We've been quite amazed to see that next Saturday you're going to play with Metallica at the Stade de France. I was reading, I think it was on your Facebook page or something, that it reminds you of being at the back of your dad's car and listening to Metallica in your Walkman. Mm-hmm. Is it true?
It's totally true, yeah. I remember when I got that tape, I was in LA, and my cousin Lance gave me this. He made all these cassette tapes for me, so I'd have music to listen to while we drove across the country, and Metallica was on there, and I'd never heard Metallica before. And so, yeah, I really liked them when I was a kid, and so, yeah, I mean, it feels like I'm in that car. If I hear that music, that is exactly where it takes me back to.
Mm-hmm. Was it at the discount time? When you were
it was before that.
It was before that.
Far before that, yeah.
Are you looking forward
I am looking
to playing at the Stade de France? You
for different reasons,
yeah. It's a place where the crowd is bigger than the all inhabitants of your hometown. And
yeah, I'm interested in playing a show like that for so many reasons, but one is just because it's such a challenge to play to a crowd that big. That's not a festival, so that'll be the first time we play something that's contained, you know, that large, and that's a challenge, I think, for any band, and I think that will be interesting / scary, and I'm
it's going to be scary, but you've got, I mean, you have to, I mean, I'm just so excited about doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like funny, because I was thinking of it in terms, at one point, it brings it all back to the Dada thing. It reminds me of, in a way, it could turn out like, you know, Arthur Craven, the Dadaist Arthur Craven. He one of his art pieces was he tricked his way into challenging Jack Johnson to the heavyweight championship boxing, and he was just an artist. He kind of boxed a bit, but he wasn't a boxer. He was an artist. You know, he was like, he was one of the first people that kind of spoofed people, and he spoofed his way into fighting Jack Johnson for the heavyweight championship, and he's gone down in boxing history, you know, as the challenger to the. In order to challenge him, he had to be the European champion. So he was automatically, he's gone down in boxing history as being the European champion, even though he never fought or anything. So he bore a lot of bruises and cuts from it.
I guess so.
But it happened. He went down in history, and he fought in the ring with Jack Johnson, heavyweight champion. And I feel like maybe there's something like that with us, you know. We might bear a few scars and bruises from it.
So it's going to be
we played with Metallica. Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at it that way, okay? Yeah.
And how do you cope to play in such big places? I mean, you two alone on the stage. I remember Angoulême 4 years ago. It was just amazing to see just the two of you being so, the presence you got on the stage. And how do you cope with that? I mean, compared to a gig just like tonight, which is a smaller venue, and what do you prefer?
Well, I love playing clubs. You know, clubs are great. There's a ceiling, it's dark, it's nighttime, you know, it's different than playing outdoors in the day. That's always a challenge in itself, but I think there's something in your mind after it's a certain amount of people that you can't see any further. And
Yeah.
You can't quite understand that there's more than that. You can tell yourself all day there's 75,000 people looking at you, but you don't believe it.
And
What
yeah.
you see is right in front of you, you know, and you can feel the energy from that far back, but you can't really,
I think, yeah.
you don't have time to stand there and think about it.
You don't think about it.
You just play.
It's like, honestly, it's like asking the question, wow, look at this modern society with all these buildings and cars flying around and
How am I gonna fit
aeroplanes.
in?
How do you deal with this? You know, it's just like, wow, well, when you think about it, it's insanity. But part of the way of dealing with it is you just don't have to think about it because your heart pushes you through and your brain is thinking of something much more abstract and important.
Yeah, I don't know. You go into a different mode, I guess.